All right, welcome back, everyone. It's been several months really since we did this, since we hung out live. I do have my Gandalf pipe, so I'll be bringing that out in a second. But before we even jump into smoking some weed and just kind of chatting, feel free to jump in that comment section. Share your thoughts, your opinions, your hot takes. If you've got any questions, I know earlier on Instagram I was asking you guys as well if you had any questions for me. So we'll definitely get to some of those Instagrams. But first, I figured let's just kind of chat about what's been going on in my world because I've been pretty quiet on social media, particularly if you don't follow me on Instagram. So, a reminder, I do have a separate IG account now, Matt McKeever Unfiltered. Pairs well with this YouTube channel. So, I'd recommend you guys follow me on both platforms if you want to get, the fullest unfiltered Matt McKeever experience. But let's just kind of chat about what's been going on. So in the last week, I finally got my Starlink internet, which means I can now actually do these live streams. And fingers crossed, assuming Elon Musk holds up his part of the deal, you guys are hopefully getting me live right now on your computer screens or your cell phone screens. So if you guys somehow missed the plot or just haven't been following along recently, I sold pretty much all my real estate, most of my businesses, moved up to the middle of nowhere. The closest kind of town that you might have heard of is Kenora, Ontario. So we're really close to the Winnipeg border. I bought a 20-acre parcel property here that's got 400 feet of waterfront. It's got 9 permanent buildings. 4 or 5 of them are move-in ready. The rest of them are in various states of disrepair. But we're going to get around to that and fix up everything here at the Citadel. And that's what I'm calling it. So if you guys ever hear me refer to the Citadel, that's literally this place. That's my new home base. And we'll get into a lot of my kind of thoughts and why I sold most of my real estate, why I don't think you guys necessarily have to panic and sell all your real estate, but maybe you want to. That's up to you. But again, just because I do something doesn't mean you immediately have to panic and go do it. But let's kind of chat about why. I don't even know how to describe this. So let's just call it why Matt went crazy. I think that's probably the simplest way I can break this down for you guys. So why did I go crazy and do a hard pivot in the last year? And honestly, there was probably a year and a half leading up to this, but why in the last year did I decide to do such a hard pivot? Sold off my portfolio. So, since like 2016 or 2017, I've always had over 100 units in my portfolio. Recently, that is not the case. Right now, I've only got technically the Citadel plus a fourplex that I'm just waiting for that deal to kind of wrap up and close, and technically a triplex, but I don't even really count that as mine. So essentially, I decided to really just decouple myself from the existing system. And I plan on doing a full video on this at some point in the future where I'll try and be more concise with my words. This is just going to be kind of a stream of consciousness. Got a couple notes written down here, but essentially, the last 2 years have been extremely concerning for me as I saw the erosion of freedom, right? I don't think that comes as a surprise if you guys have been following anything going on in the world in the last 2 years. Now, exactly where you land on the conspiracy theory, spectrum, it really just depends on the content you're consuming. But one of the biggest concerns I do have is regardless of whether you think that every action the government's taken up until this point was justified, or whether you think that they're completely batshit crazy, World Economic Forum, Davos trying to take over the world, maybe they're trying to microchip you. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's the case, but regardless of where your thoughts and perspectives are, I think we can see that there's starting to become a pretty significant divide in society, not just in Canadian society, not just in United States or North American society, but pretty much across the board. And again, regardless of if one side's, emphatically right or if both sides are partially right, this lack of trust is really concerning, because one of the reasons that we've got such abundance in the West, one of the reasons that, in my opinion, I was able to build up a massive real estate portfolio at a relatively young age was because I was participating in a high trust society. And in a high trust society, it's easy to accumulate assets. It's easy to trust one another. It's easy to enter into, legally binding contracts and expect the other party to hold up their end of the bargain. Whereas if you start to find yourself in a low trust society, things fall apart pretty quickly. And these are very complex systems that we're participants in. And, you guys can read up on it better than I'm going to be able to summarize it here. But with the concept of complex systems is they can continue for an extended period of time before the wheels really fall off and things go really haywire. And so, again, not saying that that's the case, but I do believe that it's the highest probability in my lifetime that things in a complex system could degrade to the point where that complex system can't just be reinvigorated or brought back to life or improved upon. And so that was definitely concerning because that wildly changes my entire worldview, right? So quick summary on Matt McKeever in case you don't know who I am, and props to you for even watching this far if you don't know who I am. But essentially, originally went through university here in Canada, went on to become a CPA, a chartered accountant, worked in public accounting for 5 years, then went on to work in a publicly traded pharmaceutical company for a couple years. I actually really didn't like that industry and kind of got jaded about that, both in regards to public equities as well as just the pharmaceutical industry in general. And that was all pre-COVID and what's going on these days. And essentially quit my job in 2016, decided to, reach financial independence, retire early, and build up just a real estate portfolio and have some fun. And if you guys have heard me talk about it in the past, for the first 6 months of being semi-retired or retired, whatever you want to frame it as, self-employed, I just kind of became everyone's drinking buddy. And I had a lot of fun. Not too many memories that I really remember, but there's at least a few that stand out there. But essentially, after those 6 months, I really asked myself, am I happy or proud of what I've accomplished? Like, is this what I'm going to be for the rest of my life? Is just everyone's drinking buddy? And I decided, no, I wanted something more out of my life. Essentially gave up drinking, decided to start a YouTube channel, go all in. Those things didn't happen exactly in that chronological order, but go all in on YouTube and just kind of networking, right? Met Jeff Weibel. We started doing Weibel limo tours. We did, OREC. We did the Las Vegas entrepreneur experience. And we were constantly, I just realized our acronym was V, just like Gary V's V Friends. But anyways, we were constantly just experimenting, exploring. And my perspective was I was operating in an extremely high trust society, and kind of everyone was my tribe, as in like literally everyone. To the point where I was starting to expand my definition of my tribe even outside of just Homo sapiens, and went on to become a vegan where, not eating meat, because that's kind of the trajectory that I thought maybe we were headed in a society, and I thought I could get on board with that. The last 2 years have really dissuaded me a lot of those perspectives. In the past, if you would have asked me, what was my political stance, I would have always said that I didn't really trust the government, but that I thought Canada was one of the best countries in the world. I would have probably described myself as a classical liberalism, libertarian, something along that spectrum, maybe a minarchist, not thinking that we could really trust the government, but at the same time, having some structure allowed me to participate in this high trust society. And that's what really allowed all the abundance that I had in my life. I'm very grateful for that and grateful for all those experiences. But as the last 2 years have progressed, I started to really get concerned about, is essentially what Matt McKeever's done and what Matt McKeever's been trying to teach people about, which is financial independence, getting your life in order, right? Really saying that you can control the trajectory of your life. You can choose to put yourself in a better financial position tomorrow by taking actions and responsibility today, and not just dwelling on the past or not just becoming a victim to your circumstances. And that was really important to me. I didn't grow up poor, but I didn't grow up rich. I would say we were kind of, lower middle income, my family. And so I was the first one to go on and get a white collar job, first one to graduate university, all those classic things. And, I'm looking now at my nieces and nephew. My sister has 3 kids, and I'm asking myself, are they going to be able to follow a similar hero's journey as I did? Are they going to be able to, if they choose, decide and go crush it, whether that's in business or art or whatever their druthers happen to be? And last 2 years, I became concerned about that. And so I really needed to look inward and ask myself some hard questions and figure out, what the hell do I think is actually going on in the world? What can I do or have control over it, right? Because again, I personally feel like my personal agency, right, the responsibility I've taken up until this point has at least helped participate in the success that I got up until that point. And, I also saw a lot of social media influencers doing one of two things: either just ignoring what's going on in the world and just like, I'm going to focus on me, make more money, and I'll just buy my way out of any problems. And that's one choice. It's not the choice that I felt naturally drawn towards. And I saw others, kind of preaching doom and gloom. And I know some of you guys really think that that's me on Instagram. I've seen your DMs. I appreciate the perspective, but at the same time, that was just me kind of sharing my journey of going from, in my opinion, red pill to black pill to clown pill, I'd like to think I'm on the other side now and I'm at the white pill moment. But again, I'll probably lapse occasionally back into black and clown pill. And we can discuss and explore all that in future videos if you guys want. But, I was just constantly asking myself, do I just sell everything and move to like Texas or Florida? Do I move to, Central or South America? Can you just outrun tyranny and, transhumanism and all those other things that'll leave you to go on your own rabbit holes in regards to? But yeah, to me, it takes a while to completely reframe and restructure your perspective of society and what you see your role in society as being. And that's kind of what I feel like I've been going through for not just the last couple of months, but certainly the last couple of months. I really kind of threw myself into asking myself those sort of questions and trying to explore those sort of themes. And again, a big part of it's just like me thinking about the next generation. I don't think I would have done well had I been like in kindergarten or grade 4 right now. I don't think I would have done well. Like as a natural introvert, like technically I could justify to myself, like, man, I'd crush it, not having to interact with other humans. But no, there was actually something that I really got a lot of value from in the last 5 years, just constantly networking, interacting with other individuals, learning from other people, right? The internet is literally the coolest, most amazing thing possible, where we're able to interact with one another and have conversations unlike anything that existed pre-internet, right? Our ability to engage and kind of choose our tribe is so much more available to us than in my parents' generation or grandparents or any other generation that came before us. And again, this division that I kind of see creeping up throughout society, and regardless of where you stand, obviously, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already know roughly where I stand. But regardless of where you stand, if we find ourselves in a low trust society, I don't think it takes very long for those complex systems to degrade and fall apart. Now, again, that they can't be salvaged. It doesn't mean that you can't bounce back. It just means I'm not sure I want to build back better. I kind of want to just take what we had, reduce the government and red tape, and kind of let individuals and freedom just keep flaring up and doing its awesome thing. And I definitely associate liberalism, classical liberalism, with the success that the West has seen in the last few centuries, right? And again, no one's hands are perfectly clean or pristine. Everyone's history, there's blood and issues and things that you wish would be better. But overall, I really do like what kind of happened with republicanism and democracy. And the narrative I see, the willingness for the average person to trade all their freedom for any sense of security really is concerning. And I had to take myself back. I literally have joked with close friends that I don't know if I'm crazy or if the world's crazy, but either way, we definitely do need to isolate. So Matt's going to pull himself back for a bit and try and figure his shit out. And then, regardless of whether I think y'all are crazy or this guy's crazy, at least we're not going to be rubbing each other ad nauseum or creating unnecessary friction. And so, yeah, that's kind of been my story of going crazy. And I don't think that I've got the perfect solution yet, but I am making strides towards that. And one of the things that I see is the Citadel, this property I bought. So the reason that, buying a compound, a big chunk of land in the middle of nowhere, where essentially I can just invite cool and interesting individuals to come and do fascinating, interesting projects with me, tackle things, and really just try and represent the change that I want to see. Because like I said, I really am concerned that my nieces and nephew won't be able to partake on a similar hero's journey to myself. I think that, if you're a parent right now and you're not careful about what sort of inputs your child's receiving, particularly young children, I think that you're doing them and your family a disservice. Now, that doesn't mean you need to immediately rip them out of school and homeschool them, although props to those of you that do, literally mad respect for that. But I think that we need to be careful right now. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot. And again, even if that fear has good intentions, it doesn't mean that it won't have bad consequences. And this overabundance of precaution or an overabundance of a bias towards safety, there are negative detriments to it, right? Like I personally feel like whether it's years or decades from now, we're going to look back and there's going to be a crazy mental health crisis that occurred. And it's going to be on both sides of the aisle in regards to the people it impacted. But I think children are going to be they're going to be more, they've got a greater, they're more impressionable. We know that. And there's a greater risk to them being essentially either coddled into a arrested development for the rest of their life, or they're going to rebel against it. Fingers crossed, I hope they rebel and they end up becoming the rub, dirt on it generation again, and they really embrace kind of the best of both worlds. And that's kind of what I want to try and document and share with the world with the Citadel. I want to have high-speed internet, right? I want the fastest internet, Starlink internet. Like, let's go so we can make live YouTube videos. But at the same time, let's also source and know where all our food comes from. Let's also get the hell off fiat currency. And I'm definitely going to be taking swings at fiat currency a lot in the future, because while a lot of you are coming to me or follow me because of real estate investing, and again, feel free to continue investing in real estate. Honestly, the gains that you made, that I made, that we made in the last couple of years, those aren't healthy or normal gains. Those shouldn't have occurred. And literally what it is just printing press goes burr, right? Like, is it over 50% of all Canadian currency has been printed in the last 18 months? Like, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound sustainable to me. I don't even think that you need to have any sort of economics background. You don't even have to be an Austrian economist at heart in order to have concerns over the printing press. But when we see companies like BlackRock and Blackstone just gobbling up assets because they're able to get completely, essentially free money from the government, and they're able to essentially use that against us, those of you that are able to succeed in real estate understand that you're still just getting the table scraps. You're not actually at the big boys table. And if you think that you're going to be able to somehow grind your way up to the big boys table without selling your soul, I've got my doubts after the research I've done over the last couple of years. But again, that's just me. That's just my perspective. And I certainly don't want this live stream or this channel or my content in general to always be like black pilled. But at the same time, I felt like I did need to give you guys my perspective and some background on where I'm coming from in regards to everything. So what I really want to do is try and help create common knowledge, right? Game theory dictates, we both need to know that we're not okay with what's going on in order for any of us to stand up. So, as of July 1st of this year, I literally made a commitment to myself. I was just done wearing masks. So essentially, I just don't wear masks anymore. Now, yes, like Walmart is crazy. The airport's crazy. Banks are crazy. There's certain areas where I might eventually just cave in if there's enough pressure. But I really am trying to help be the change, represent what I want in society. And that involves sometimes putting yourself out there. And trust me, I've heard from a handful of followers, more than a handful of followers, that disagree adamantly with my perspective on things. Those of you that like the death threats and stuff, those probably were unnecessary, or the hopes that, me and my unvaccinated family would all die. That probably was unnecessary as well. But I can understand that this is a very passionate subject matter for people, and it's very easy to get emotional. And again, I've definitely had some hot takes and some angry moments as well, because I literally think it's absurd to give up your freedom for this false sense of security, particularly 2 years into this thing. It's just wild to me that we now have our prime minister going on all his pressers wearing a mask again, even when he's social distancing and doing an interview. And it's just like, wait, what happened to the summer of 2020 when literally we essentially went back to normal, and now we find ourselves with the vast majority of the population vaccinated, and we're in greater danger than ever before, even though it appears that the current variant on the loose seems to be the least deadly that we've experienced so far, to the point where, if I remember correctly, South Africa just announced they're done with all the bullshit. They're done with lockdowns. They're done with all that, because they're like, no one's dying from it. So let's just move on. And I definitely want to move on to a degree as well. And that's, again, what the Citadel really is for me. Is it's a stepping stone towards, building parallel institutions, regardless of whether society bounces back and somehow builds back better, or whether society crumbles. I'm just done with the lying, with the bullshit, with the fiat, everything. We're capable of doing better. And we've got the technology and the ability to communicate now, where we don't necessarily need to be part of a massive tribe, right? We don't necessarily need to be part of a city organism of 1 million people. I think that we can literally pick and choose at this point in time the best of all worlds. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish with the Citadel as well. If you guys are interested in learning more about the Citadel, just a reminder, there's probably a link in the video description down below, but if not, there's a link on my Unfiltered Instagram account to the Discord that I've set up. Essentially just a community of like-minded individuals sharing their perspectives, sharing resources, and just kind of sharing support, because especially as we go into the holiday season, it's wild to see some of the narrative or talking points being pushed, like, don't invite unvaccinated family members, keep your family gatherings to 10 people or less, all those different things. I think that divisive language serves no one. It's also not going to solve what's going on in regards to COVID. And it's just wild to think that people are still buying into that narrative. But I get it. A lot of people, they've got better things to do. They've got a job, they've got family, they've got bills to pay. And it's really easy to just be like, I'm assuming the experts know what they're talking about. I'm assuming the experts don't literally just want to destroy me, my lifestyle, my livelihood. I assume that they don't want me to actually own nothing and be happy about it 5 or 10 years from now. Well, you read up on some of their written materials and you're like, I'm less certain about their good intentions. But again, I'm sure that there's ways that they reinterpret their reality to see it as a net positive, what they're doing. So anyways, my mission for the last 5 years has really just been trying to teach Canadians how to get control of their financial lives. I'm really proud of what I've done in that regards. I also was already, even pre-COVID, starting to slightly get bored of saying the same shit over and over again, because most of these fundamentals are just that. They're fundamentals that don't change that drastically. And a lot of the questions people want to ask me are honestly better off just hitting up Josh or Aaron from the Finlay Mortgage team. Like, legit, when you guys ask me very specific mortgage questions, if you get me on a good day, I might answer. But most of the days, I'm just going to be like, ask the experts that literally are dealing with this on a day-by-day basis. Most of the basic stuff that we need to understand is just some basic rules of thumb, some basic principles, and then just being given the confidence to go out and ask questions, embarrass ourselves, learn and reiterate upon the process. And so, again, all the stuff that we've ever shot in regards to financial independence and real estate investing, it's still there. That's the best part. You guys can go back and binge it. And I may even make the occasional appearance again on the Canadian Real Estate channel, because, again, growing that channel, at first by myself, and then with Peter and, Jeff and Adam and all the other Casey, Corey, all the other characters that you came to know and love on the channel, was really fun. And I'm very happy that I got to help impact so many Canadians, because, again, there's a lot of people that I know are in a much better space today, or place today, than they were 5 years ago. And because of that, they're now able to speak out. They're now able to homeschool their kids. They're now able to challenge the mainstream narrative. And that's important to me. So again, getting your financial house in order, I think it's just as important or more important than ever before. So I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that. And honestly, those of you that want my hot take on real estate in the year 2022, I think that we're ran by doves at all central banking agencies. And I think that we're addicted to cheap debt. So I don't see interest rates correcting dramatically in the near future. I know that they may try and position themselves otherwise, but if you guys go back and watch any of my commentary on it, for years I've been just saying they're doves, they're doves, they're doves. You're not going to convince me they're a hawk until they start acting like a hawk. Just because they talk the talk doesn't mean they can walk the walk. So that being said, I personally suspect that, we're probably going to see more inflation in housing costs. At some point in time, though, understand that landlords will make a convenient scapegoat, landlords and real estate investors in particular. And we're already starting to see them test the waters on different types of policies, taxes, rules, regulations that would penalize real estate investors. Now, real estate investors are, and honestly, in my opinion, we're just reacting to the stimuli already out there in the economy. We're not the ones asking for printing press to go burr. We're not the ones actually even demanding low interest rates. We're just reacting to the environment or the playing field that the government's setting. And I think it's important to understand that, because I don't think your average Canadian is going to understand that a couple of years from now. And I think that could put landlords at a disadvantage from tax and regulatory perspective. So if you're getting into real estate investing these days, I think you can still make lots of money. I suspect you will make lots of money if you work hard and, you have that internal strong locus of control. But you also need to be paying attention both on the local, provincial, and federal levels, what's going on in regards to policy, rules, regulations, and taxes. Because I don't think they're ever going to just drop the guillotine on you overnight. But they'll slowly, keep raising the waters, and they'll boil the frog a degree at a time. So definitely, I don't think you can just buy it, forget it for a couple decades, wake up, check your statements, and be good as a real estate investor these days. I'm not saying that that was ever a great policy, but I think it probably worked better in the past, where you could just kind of, coast as a real estate investor. I would be, in this day and age, I'd be taking a very active role if I was going to be participating as a real estate investor. You guys have probably seen me trolling on Instagram in regards to cryptocurrencies and particularly NFTs these days. I still think there's wild opportunities there, but it's also the Wild West, and you need to be careful because there do be dragons, and people will just, there's pumps and dumps every single day in that space. If you're not putting in real effort, if you're not doing real research, you're probably going to end up being one of the fools at the table, and you're going to lose your money. So again, if you're going to be a fool, I think you'll have better success in real estate investing. But I think just with where we are, it feels like such a more dynamic economy these days that I think you just need to always be paying attention, whether you're in stock, like whether you're in public equities, whether you're in crypto or NFTs, or whether you're in real estate investing. I think it's more important than ever that you're really paying attention to the market you're investing in. Now, at the same time, because inflation is sky high, I actually think it's really important you be investing or doing something, whether that's starting a business, whether that's trying to take your business to the next level. Because if you're not earning greater than, let's call it a 6 or 7% return, you're not even keeping up with, stated inflation in a lot of countries. And honestly, if you're not making probably a double-digit return these days on an annualized basis, I don't think you're keeping up with real inflation whatsoever. So again, it's really important you get control of your financial life, but I think that you need to do more than that these days. And not that you should have ever only focused on your finances in the past, but certainly my content, that's all we really focused on in the past. I think that now it's really important you build deep relationships. If this complex system does start to degrade a little bit, you're going to be happy that your neighbors, or you've got strong family and societal bonds with people that are in your direct vicinity. Because again, even if it's just a short-term blip, right? Even just a couple weeks, a couple months of serious disruptions to our supply chains, or hard lockdowns, or whatever the case may be, I think that you'd be well served to have local allies. And again, I think that that's one of the cool things about the Citadel, is we can literally just start building our own little community. And for those of you that have questions, again, the Discord's the best place to interact with me in regards to what's going on in the Citadel. I'm really excited. I won't name names because I don't know if people are comfortable with that, but we've got some permanent residents now at the Citadel, but we've also got the first couple that have bought a nearby property that will be moving up in January. Again, I think that's super cool. And I encourage those of you that, you can work from home, or maybe you can find work up here in northwestern Ontario. Why not consider it? And in fact, maybe I was going to jump the shark here, but literally like a couple years or a decade from now, let's just kind of try and set up our own territory or province here. Maybe we can pull some of northern Manitoba and northwestern Ontario, and let's just kind of separate from those other provinces, and maybe we can find create a province that really just wants autonomy, individual freedoms, respects the individual. And if not, we're close to the American border. So if we need to become refugees, we're less than an hour drive away. Half joke. Anyways, we used to smoke weed on this. So let's get this pipe prepped here. I think this is animal cookies. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the bud tenders now, when you're going to buy your weed, it used to just be you would just be like, hey, what do you recommend? And they'd always just recommend the highest THC thing. These days, people are getting way more specific with their recommendations. So this one seems pretty potent, in my opinion, even though the THC wasn't off the charts. But yeah, cheers. All right. And let's see, those are the big things. Honestly, just focus on building some relationships. Don't become isolated in these times. Start stacking some sats, even if it's just a couple dollars. I really think that you won't regret owning Bitcoin 5 or 10 years from now. And I think it's important you start focusing on, your individual health care rather than just reactive sick care. Because that's really what we've got in the West, is just prescriptions and focused on treating symptoms rather than, treating the underlying issue at hand. So I don't have like a snappy tagline for kind of what I want to do next. In the past, it was all about real estate investing, financial independence for the average Canadian. I think that in the future, we're going to be focused on a lot more on like, building your tribe, having individual agency and autonomy, being decoupled from the existing corrupt systems. Again, none of that's real snappy. So if any of you guys have some cool taglines, let me know in the comment section down below. And before I jump into your comments, I appreciate those of you that are just hitting up the chat nonstop. I think that for those of you that are actually looking for some solutions or suggestions, get your financial house in order. So immediately, if you're not in this position, you need to get in this position where your income exceeds your expenses. Now, again, how much it exceeds, that's up to you as an individual. But these days, if you haven't already like saved up your financial nut, if you don't have your war chest or your passive income or your multiple income streams or whatever you want to frame it as, if you don't feel like you're in a strong financial position, I really think you should be aiming to the best of your ability for that 50% savings rate target. So what you want is that your expenses are only 50% of your current income. And I mean, you're not allowed to do anything anyways these days, right? Like you can't go to restaurants, you can't so it should be relatively easy. Just keep your Uber Eats in check and the savings should come naturally at this point in time. Beyond that, I would really love to encourage you guys, figure out what's worth fighting for, in your opinion. Where is your line in the sand? And it doesn't need to be my line in the sand. It doesn't need to be your parents' or your friend's line in the sand. It really should be an individual decision that you make, but commit to that line in the sand. Because there are so many people that are well-intended, good people, in my opinion, that a year ago when we were having conversations, they would tell me about a line in the sand. And their line in the sand was like, I'm not going to get vaxxed because I just don't think the trade-off's worth it for me. Or I'm not going to do this. Or, I refuse to wear a mask. And I've seen so many people just slowly socially conditioned or socially normed into accepting things that a year ago they would have never been willing to. Definitely none of us are perfect, myself included. But one of the things I really am proud of is decoupling myself as much as I could from the existing system. For, taking the risk, like my financial net worth, my trajectory of growth is definitely, well, if it wasn't for NFTs, definitely would have plateaued because of my decision to sell my businesses, to really step back from social media for a bit and focus on like setting up the Citadel, trying to build my parallel institutions. But that was important to me because I don't see this shit going away. In fact, I'm really concerned. I don't know how the narrative's shaping up right now. No one can really predict. Again, it's such a dynamic, complex system, but I do have concerns that whether it's 30, 50, 100 days from now, we're going to find ourselves in a narrative that's going to be really concerning because it seems like the current variant has a much higher R naught, right? So it spreads a lot faster. And I think that that's going to be used to take more power, to have more tyranny, to take more draconian measures against the average citizen, regardless of whether you're got the shot or not. And I think if we're not careful here, if we accept QR codes and we accept essentially a default social credit system, we really are going to regret that. Some people argue that credit card scores were already a step in that direction, and that happened a long time ago. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but certainly we don't want to continue marching in that direction, in my humble opinion. And if society chooses to do that, I think it's important that we start really focusing on doubling down on building our parallel institutions. So one of the things I haven't touched upon yet that I personally think is important for my individual journey is preparing and fighting what I'm considering the culture war. Because I suspect a lot of you, to varying degrees, agree with at least aspects of my perspective. And that probably means that more or less you're a live and let live sort of person. I really respect that, because that means you're just focused on you and yours, and trying to help them to the best of your ability. However, those of us that are live and let live, it often takes a lot for us to really like snap out of our tunnel, right? Snap out of our current focus. And again, that's where having a strong line in the sand, we're already having commitments that you've made to yourself about who you are, what you stand for, what you're willing to bow or kneel for, is so important. Because if not, it's easy to just keep compromising the entire way into, if you want to get really dark, into oblivion. So again, I think that I would just really encourage you guys to figure out where is your individual line in the sand. If you haven't got control of your financial life, please do it now. If there's, we can all improve to some degree with our health or physical well-being, I'd encourage you guys to take ownership over that as well. Again, that's an area I could constantly improve on, and I try and at least nudge myself in the right direction. And yeah, beyond that, just build deep, meaningful relationships. Particularly not just with people online, but with people in your general local physical vicinity. Because I don't know if you can just stick your head in the metaverse forever and be able to ignore everything that's going on. And again, I never watched The Matrix wanting to take the blue pill. So again, if you want to become a pod person, that's cool. You do you. But for those of us that maybe don't want to become pod people, I think now is the time to start really setting up your dominoes, or making sure you've got your chessboard in alignment. So appreciate those of you jumping in the comment section. Let's quickly jump through these. And then as well, I've got a bunch of Instagram questions that we'll answer here as well. All right. Hey, what's up, Peter, Henry, Steven, Dave, Alex? Guess who's back? Back again. Absolutely. And it feels good, honestly. Like, I've been going crazy here wanting to get high-speed internet so I could get back on YouTube. Again, not because I think that you guys, are desperately seeking my perspective, but because, hey, this is cathartic for me. This is actually good for me. And at least it seems like some people get value from it as well. Lava Cat Comics, the divide is getting bigger and bigger for sure. Yeah, and again, regardless of which side of that divide you're on, again, one of my biggest concerns is that we're going to find ourselves in a very low trust society, and that does none of us any good. Even if you were right all along, whatever side you're on, if you were right because the government's 100% right, or you were right because you knew the government was 100% wrong, the fact that a lot of us are going to lose faith in our existing systems can cause a lot of chaos. Peter, the Hungarian experiment's getting ready to move up here to the Citadel. I'm really looking forward to that. And again, if you guys are interested in potentially participating, whether that's coming up here, moving here, whether that's buying a nearby piece of property, maybe that's just dropping in for a visit, make sure you join that Discord. I've been very open and inviting up until this point with people coming here. Probably in 2022, we're going to tweak that, because I plan on getting a lot more attention and ideally drawing a lot more people here. And that naturally means that we're going to need to have greater filters and greater restrictions. So again, if you've been kind of on the fence thinking about joining the Discord, if you've been kind of on the fence thinking about coming up for a visit, you should get those wheels in motion sooner than later. And the best way to do that is on the Discord. Link in the video description below, or link on my Matt McKeever Unfiltered Instagram account. Noel says here, hey, Matt, hope you've been doing well. I got to see you in London at your meetup before you left in August. That's awesome. Appreciate you coming out. Since then, I've been working for a wholesaling company where we specialize in Florida for free. That's awesome. Hey, what's up, Nathan? What's up, guys? Oh, and Noel also started door knocking in London at 18. That's awesome. And glad that you got some wisdom out of that visit, and definitely encourage you. Like, I know there's a lot of younger audience members here. Those of you that are like 16, 17, 18, 21, 25, in my opinion, you're all still way ahead of the game. In my humble opinion, it wasn't really until I was like 23, 24, going into 25 that I started to seriously take my financials and my desire to learn and just self-improve and all those different aspects seriously. And again, it's been a continuous work in progress. I'm pretty sure Matt McKeever will always be a work in progress, but I'm glad I started then. And those of you starting sooner, like, while at times this live stream may seem dark, there's actually so much upside and there's so much potential for you guys. But again, I think that's more important than ever before that we pay attention to what's going on around us, and you make sure you know where your personal line in the sand is, and you stand up for what you think is right, regardless of what it is. Awesome. Do you think Trudeau will be Canada's downfall, or can we recover? Yeah, it's a complicated question, right? You know, I've always been happy to be a Canadian. I've always loved Canada. I do have real serious concerns about the CCP and Chinese government and their ability to infiltrate aspects of Canadian society, our infrastructure, our politics. And certainly, if we don't wisen up, in my opinion, in regards to that, we're going to find ourselves in a heap of trouble. And for those of you that maybe this is what the hell's Matt talking about, a couple books I'd encourage you to check out is Willful Blindness is a great book. Claws of the Panda and Silent Invasion. Those are three great books. You know, they're not crazy conspiracy theorists. You can back up everything they talk about, and it just shows the ability of the CCP to the United Workers Front. I think I said that right, and all those other organizations to slowly start really influencing Canadian policy, and that is concerning. When the fact that you've got, you know, instances where the Five Eyes, which are, you know, Canada, the US, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, where our Five Eye members don't trust the Canadian CSIS, right? The Canadian Spy Agency or whatever, intelligence agency, when they don't trust us and don't keep us completely in the loop because of our leaks, right? That's seriously concerning. That's something that gets explored, I believe, in Willful Blindness. So again, really encourage you guys to check out that book. I don't think that, thankfully, I don't think that one man can destroy a country. So if Trudeau ends up being the linchpin where it all falls apart, honestly, there probably was a lot more corruption and rot already on the vine before he came along. Or I guess if we keep voting him in for the next couple of decades, then maybe one man could have enough influence to truly destroy us. But I think it is important that we hold these individuals accountable, because I do think that there's a certain class of individuals, politicians, the parasite class, whatever you want to refer to them as, that they don't see themselves as above the law per se, but they see themselves as a step apart from the average person. And it really is concerning, because the moment you start identifying yourself as not part of the whole, the moment you start to like have factions or start subdividing or start viewing the unvaxxed as lesser than, you know, history is just wrought with crazy tragedies that occur or crazy crimes that occur from those situations. So I think that it certainly feels like we're at an inflection point over the last couple of years, and I suspect that the next couple of years will be very similar as well. I'm sure our parents and parents felt the same way. I'm not sure what that specifically was in reference to, Dave, but yeah, there definitely is an aspect of, you know, the thing that we experience, we hold as, you know, there's a recency bias towards that, right? There's a bias where the things we experience, we hold in higher regard than the experiences of others or the past. Oftentimes when we're reading, you know, history, it's a real Coles Notes version. So it's easy to either think that nothing happened, or it just went from one tragedy to the next, or one pivotal moment to the next. You know, it's hard to really say in regards to what sort of filter you should apply to that, or what sort of grain of salt you should take. I don't face diaper either. That's awesome, Tara. I try to only shop at places that respect not wearing one. Was in a store yesterday maskless while a health inspector was there. That's awesome. I didn't care and put it on. I like what you said. Be the change you want to see. Absolutely. And again, I'm very similar. A lot of small businesses, you know, when I go in without a mask, they're not wearing a mask. They don't feel compelled to put one on. we're all good. I'd rather give them my money than give Walmart my money anyways. So the fact that, Walmart, really tries to force the face diapers on you, it's a net benefit, right? Like it literally is just conditioning me to not want to participate in commerce with them. So that's not a bad thing in my opinion. Nathan saying, I go back and forth between the grand plan conspiracy and the complete incompetence option. Depends on the day. Yeah, man, I'm a pendulum in that regards as well. I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. Like, I think that to think that everything's completely orchestrated probably gives them too much credit. And to think that it's all just happenstance and coincidence and incompetence probably also is, giving too wide a berth of error margin. I don't know what I was trying to string together there for words. What's up, Jay? Hey guys, awesome. Appreciate all the love in the comments. Let's see, anything else going on here? Matt, I love all that you're saying. It's everything I've been doing, finding my tribe, finding resources like farmers, hairdressers, etc., building more and more good connections with great people, and through that have found other resources I wasn't even looking for. Keep close to the ones you love and know who your tribe is. Absolutely. I think, again, we can view all this as like terrible, bad things happening to us. Woe is me. Everyone's out to get me, or they're going to steal all my freedoms. That may all be true for all I know. However, at the same time, it's really like, what can I control? What can I choose to make of the situation I find myself in? And the good news is we still have a lot of autonomy, right? A lot of the situations where people feel like they're completely cornered, in fact, is kind of a mental prison, right? There's not nearly enough officers to enforce all the rules all the time. And so it's really, are we naturally putting constraints on ourselves that are imagined, or constraints that are just socially conditioned or socially normed upon us? And I think it's valuable to challenge yourself and be able to step outside of those perspectives, right? Like I joked about it in early July that, the craziest high you'll get right now is just going into a store without a mask, because you're naturally going to be socially conscious, right? Particularly if you've been complying throughout this entire period. And for those of you that have been complying throughout this entire period, but maybe you're tired of it, you're frustrated, you feel like you were cheated, or maybe you just want to get a new head rush, I'd encourage you, try it once or twice. You're probably going to feel like the center of attention, although realistically, most people are still just focused on doing them. I haven't had any seriously negative consequences or interactions. At most, there's maybe people making snide comments. I'm just like, that's cool. You do you. I'm comfortable doing me. Although I will tell you, when I shared on my stories, it's some of the most positive response I get, right? When I like take a selfie of myself in the store without a mask on, really appreciate the love I get from you guys. And it's very clear that I'm not alone, even though every time I go into a store, I'm usually the only one maskless. Adam says, if you haven't left yet, then you stuck. Next up, CB. I think that's a little darker than necessary, Adam, but I appreciate the perspective. Next up, CBDC. Yeah, certainly central bank digital currencies are of serious concern. That's why I think finding an on-ramp into Bitcoin in particular, but I know a lot of you are going to ignore me because you want to chase massive gains or returns or pump your bags. But getting off of fiat currency, I think, is a very worthwhile endeavor to whatever degree you're comfortable with. But if you're literally sitting on zero Bitcoin right now, I think that you're taking a unreasonable risk with your financial future. I think that even having just the tiniest sliver of Bitcoin just at least puts you in a better position should it turn out that Bitcoin is the future. Fingers crossed it's the future. Again, I don't have nearly enough Bitcoin. I wish I would have paid a lot more attention to the Bitcoiners I was hanging out with in 2017, but the past is the past. There's only the present and the future. But I do think that it's not quite that dreary yet. One thing, even if you want to think that we're in the darkest timeline, and those of you that are fans of Community, that's one of my favorite TV shows. That was one of the best episodes, in my opinion. We may be in the darkest timeline, but even if you're in the darkest timeline, usually it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I don't think that we're literally at the point in time where you couldn't get yourself into another country if you really focused on it, regardless of your vaccination status. Now, again, that doesn't make it easy. Doesn't mean you're going to have a good time. Doesn't necessarily even mean it's going to be cheap. But I do think that there's still solutions out there. And the moment that you find yourself completely giving up all control, you've lost, in my opinion, right? If you're going to completely be a defeatist at this point in time, I think that you do yourself, do your compatriots, you do your tribe a disservice by doing so. But really do appreciate you sharing your perspective, Adam. Hey, what's up, Miranda? Yeah, it's great going into places where they're not wearing masks too. Seeing smiles is great. Absolutely. It's a very humanizing experience, and it's something that we need more of just in general, in my opinion, because, yeah, and Miranda's talking about the after-school video on mass psychosis. It's a fascinating subject matter. I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, that one's been out for a while. We watched it as an entire team a few months ago because I thought it was just so poignant. And it's really important to understand that it can be really easy. It can be really easy to a certain extent to just get people to comply and go along, right? Go along to get along, I think, is a theme that a lot of Canadians prided ourselves on for the most part, at least up until recently. And I can respect that perspective, right? Not trying to rock the boat needlessly. However, at the same time, I think that sometimes that's really used against us, right? It ends up becoming a stick where they're like, oh, so your freedom's more important than my safety. It's just like, well, I don't even want to really get into the relative discussion, but in this exact situation, I think that it's reasonable to explore the relative risk and reward of what we're dealing with here. And it's not justified. But even if it could be justified, I think that where there's a huge difference, or at least a disconnect in the way I interpret the world versus obviously the way a lot of politicians and world leaders interpret the world, is if shit was really serious, you wouldn't have to force and corral and, try and bribe and, blackmail individuals into participating in the vaccination process, right? Like, if this was crazy Ebola and there's dead bodies on the street, it's the Spanish flu, I think it'd be a lot easier to get those that are concerned to either really self-isolate or to take up the vaccination. I think that it's the relative risk reward that a lot of people have concerns with. But again, to me, at the end of the day, it's just fundamental freedoms. So I mentioned this months ago, but like, in my opinion, regardless of my perspective on vaccines, I made a decision that I wasn't going to get vaccinated, not because I thought that they were going to microchip me or because I was afraid a magnet was going to hang off of my arm. Although if that's your perspective, again, I'm not necessarily throwing shade at you. But because I knew it would be too easy for me to ignore those that chose to not get vaccinated if I was vaccinated, right? If I was getting given a cookie at every turn and every moment, I knew they'd be really easy to forget about those that weren't. And unfortunately, I think that we see the divisive language now, not even just in Canada, but recently I shared on my stories the White House, right? They shared a quote from, I believe, a doctor on staff there that essentially was like, if you're unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of like disease and death and da-da-da-da. And it's like, ooh, pump your brakes here, man. Like, we haven't experienced that arguably at all in the last 2 years. What about this exact moment in time has changed so dramatically that you're speaking now with such authority and such disdain towards the unvaccinated? Anyways, definitely going down a bit of a rabbit hole there, but appreciate everyone jump in the comment section. What's up, Abby? Really missed you. Good to see you. Agree with your perspective on what's going on 1,000%. You're brave to speak out. Thank you for being a sane voice. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Tara saying, I've had many store workers stop me and tell me how nice it is to see a face. That's been super encouraging to hear, and it happens more and more often. That's wonderful to hear. And again, deep down, regardless of where you are on the divide, the moment you start dealing with a human and you see them as a human, it's just so much easier to be compassionate. It's so much easier to be forgiving. It's so much easier to give the benefit of the doubt. And I think that right now we see the exact opposite, where governments want to simply group or lump us into these cohorts or these masses. And when you're dealing with a large group of people, it's so much more, it's so much easier to dehumanize a group of people than an individual. And there's some great quotes around that I'm completely blanking on, but a bunch of you guys did hit me up with questions on Instagram, so I'm going to pull those up quick. But while you guys are watching me pull up my Instagram DMs, smash the like button if you haven't. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Appreciate those of you that do subscribe. And Make sure you check out the Discord if you really want to participate or join the community. So let's see, what were these questions here? All right. So, okay, low entry cost NFTs if they exist. And this one was from Henry. So there's a lot of low cost NFTs. However, the biggest question is, are they worth anything? So, you can find lots of projects that are literally free if you're willing to pay for the gas to get them these days. However, the likelihood of them turning into a valuable investment is relatively low. Now, if you're asking me for projects that I think maybe have some potential, and again, this isn't going to be investing advice. You guys really need to do your own due diligence when it comes to NFTs, because to me, it's all about the community. So if you're not paying attention, if you're not dialed into the community, I really do think you're going to have a bad time of it. But I'm going to pull up here my portfolio on OpenSea. You guys can always go and check out exactly what I own, see what I've got in my portfolio. Now, again, just because I own something doesn't necessarily make it a good idea. There's definitely some turds in this bucket, but there's also some pretty cool investments. Also, some of these things I didn't even buy, right? So like I've got the size of portfolio now or whatever, where sometimes people just give me free shit because not that they think I'm an influencer, but because I own some expensive shit. So they think like, oh, if other people look at what he's got and they see he's got one of my things. So, I it's way too expensive, but for those of you that have the money, I think getting a Mutant Ape Yacht Club, they're going to be about 6-7 ETH right now. I think that there is some long-term potential there. I think the Cool Cats, again, you're probably at like 6 ETH though. I think BioPills is doing a lot of things right. Again, you're probably at half an ETH to get into BioPills, but if you explore that, I think there's potential there. The crypto dads, I had some friends get crypto dads. I just kind of wanted to jump on the train because they were a part of it. I haven't really done enough research. It's definitely not turned into a good investment so far, but it really comes down to the community. So one of the things that you need to really be doing is joining the Discords, participating in there, and then ask yourself, like, am I willing to actually put in some work, or am I just going to try and, coast off of the success of this community? So the only community that I've really actually helped, in my opinion, and this probably makes me sound like a dick now that I say it out loud, but the only community I've really helped in the crypto space up until this point is Bored Ape Yacht Club. And that was literally the second set of NFTs I ever bought. The very first one was a CryptoPunk, and CryptoPunks I've ridden up, down, sideways. I'm still definitely up a good amount on my CryptoPunk, but I could have sold it for literally double what it's worth today. So again, I'm no expert, but I really do love the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I thought there was something special about it, and I just loved the degens that were part of the club I was in. And with time, some famous people and some rich people join the club, and that's cool, right? Because there's certain prestige or attention that comes along with it. But I actually still really like some of the OG degens that minted day one or bought, day two on the secondary market. And so like things that I've done to actually like try and support that community is, I think it's somewhere here in my portfolio. Like I literally had Dan, who's a business partner of mine on another NFT project, make a custom song about my Bored Ape Yacht Club, the one that I use as my PFP profile photo. Now, if you guys are looking for cheap entry level NFTs, I'm not saying this one's going to turn into a good investment, but Gary Vee is still bullish on it to this day, even though it's really fallen off. I don't even see my portfolio right now, but somewhere I've got a deadhead, and yeah, I don't know where he is. It's not loading. But anyways, deadheads, I think they're like 0.1, 0.2 ETH right now. They're pretty affordable. My guy had like a Canadian toucan. That's weird. I don't know what happened to the little guy, but sometimes OpenSea just glitches. And another one that I think has some potential, where was it? These ones, really do your own research, decide if you want to be a part of the community, but on a long enough time horizon, I think Woodies could turn into something. And they're lower than when I bought in right now, but again, that's not a promise that's going to work out for you. I wonder, I don't know what's going on there. I think if you've got a decent little bit of ETH, Meebits, they're kind of like, not that there's any blue chips in the space, but I think that there's a little bit of potential there. And the odds of them going to zero feels relatively low compared to other types of projects. But right now, it's a very, like, people are calling it a winter right now in the NFT world. It's actually still very frothy. There's still a lot of pump and dumps. You need to be careful with what you're getting into. I think that impact theory is a great option. I don't know what their floor is at right now, but last time I checked, it was like 0.07 ETH. Again, this one's not going to like make you rich. I don't think it's going to moonshot, but could it be worth double, triple, 5 times what it's worth today a year from now? Yeah, I think Tom Bayou, I think the impact team, I just don't see why they would try and cash grab us, right? Or why they'd try and rip us off. The same way I didn't think that about Gary Vee. And that's the reason I bought in big on Gary Vee's original launch. It's the reason that I bought big in on Tom's launch here. So again, I definitely encourage you guys to consider that. Yeah, I think those are some starting points at least. I'm just kind of curious now. It's just OpenSea, not... Oh, there he is. So that's my deadhead. Again, I'm probably underwater on it right now. There's times when I could have sold for more. I guess it's a little bit more worth a little bit more than I was expecting, but there's kind of a TV show behind it. They're claiming that they were the first NFT TV show or cartoon. Again, some people dispute that. People like to dispute a lot of things in the NFT world, but hopefully that helps you out, Henry, and do appreciate you following along, and thanks for asking the question on Instagram. Sebastian asked, what are you doing to stay upbeat and positive during these times? That's a great question. I know some of you think that my Instagram's really dark and negative. Maybe you're right. I don't even know. I personally like it. A lot of the memes I share and stuff, that honestly, they really do give me a chuckle, even if they are dark humor. I'm actually right now in discussions with a cartoonist. I want to start making my own memes. I've been writing a pilot TV show for a cartoon show because, again, I think the culture wars are really important. So I've been doing that, and there's a lot of dark comedy in that, so I enjoy that. What else have I been doing? Recently watched the 2 most recent South Park episodes. I like South Park. I don't think they went as hard on the craziness that is COVID as they probably could have, but they did poke a lot of fun in the most recent episode at NFTs. That was pretty fun. So those are some of the things I'm doing. And then otherwise, just trying to build this community, right? I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of the communities I built in the past in regards to real estate investing and networking. I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of building this new community, both online on the Discord as well as in person, which is literally this place. Someone wanted to know how many boosters I'm going to get. Once they start giving me a cool little booster pass, maybe I'll get all the boosters at once. But right now, there's currently it's very low on my to-do list to get the boosters. Someone asked about Florida real estate investing and escaping communist Canada. Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, my opinions on that are complicated. So I don't know. And this isn't to put pressure on my family, but if I didn't have, if my parents weren't around, if my sister didn't have kids and her family, I might have already packed up and left Canada. I don't know. But because they're here, because I feel like I've got a certain amount of roots, also because I don't love the idea of just leaving, because one, if things are as bad as I think some of us think they could get, I'm not sure if you can just run away from these problems. And two, even if you could, I wouldn't want to run and leave anyone behind. So to me, the Citadel is a big part of that. Even if I decide to someday move to another country or buy an island with Mike Rosehart, which we are in discussions to buy an island in Bahamas. Let's just get that done, Mike. We got a phone call about it tomorrow. But even if I decide to do that, having the Citadel is actually still really important to me, because I still want a safe haven, not just in Canada for myself, but for what I consider to be me and mine. And again, my definition of me and mine has evolved over time, but certainly that's my parents, that's my sister, her family, that's my close friends, right? It's all those people that, the people you would be willing to die for. And so for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable just turning coat and running without making sure that they were all good before if I thought I need to get out, that I got out. Because I thought I was stubborn, but it turns out a lot of these people are really stubborn. Where I'm like, let's just buy a compound in Texas and I'll move to Texas. I'll figure out a way to get us green cards. Like, just trust me, right? We'll start a business. We'll find someone to employ us, whatever. It'll all work out. Most people are like, I'm not willing to just throw away my entire life, Matt, because you think that things are on the darkest timeline. That's probably a reasonable reaction, all things considered. So yeah, I think Florida's got a lot of potential. I personally think Texas does as well. I know people debate about, is Texas more purple than red, da 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 da. I think that what you're really looking at, though, is the spirit of the people around you. And so when I'm thinking of Texas, I'm not thinking of like moving downtown Austin. Or when I'm thinking of Florida, I'm not necessarily thinking of moving into, downtown Miami. I'm thinking of like the rural parts, the parts where there's other people with homesteads or other people's with their own little compounds, other people's that are focused on getting back to their roots or knowing where their food came from, homesteading, all that good stuff. And I think that both of those states have a lot of potential. But there's also other great states like Idaho, to a lesser extent, West Virginia, and actually, I'm drawing a blank. There's a couple other good ones too. I apologize for forgetting your states, but there's lots of great states in my opinion. I also think that there's some interesting potential in Central and South America. Again, for me, it's not going to ever be my sole plan. It's only going to be part of the plan. So certainly on a long enough time horizon, and assuming the world doesn't completely go to hell in the handbasket, I would love to get a compound in the next little bit in Texas, like as in the next 2 years, as well as a compound somewhere in the Caribbean, Central, South America area. And I feel like that would be my trifecta of freedom. Now, again, will I be able to easily travel between the three of those places? We'll figure it out. But I at least like the idea of having them. And again, I don't know, people need hobbies. If my hobby's collecting compounds, so be it. But anyways, really appreciate you guys watching this video. Appreciate those of you that have smashed the like button. Appreciate those of you that have subscribed to my YouTube channel. This YouTube channel is small enough that I still got notifications turned on, so I see when someone subscribes, so it always puts a smile on my face. And before we wrap up here, a reminder, jump over and check out my Unfiltered Instagram account as well. If you guys haven't, if you're looking to support local artists, if you're looking to get into a really unique NFT project, this isn't going to be for the faint of heart or the light of ETH individual. But if you're looking to, participate in something truly unique, this is a project where I'm a primary on. So you guys have probably heard me talking about Project LB52. If you haven't, I encourage you to check it out. You can literally just listen to all the free beats here, or like for free, you can listen to all the beats here on the column. All you need to do is hit that nice little music or that sound icon, and you can check out the beats. But essentially what this is myself and Dan the Lost Boy, Dan the NFT boy, we've been working on this project now for over 6 months. This isn't some sort of like fly by night, try and grab cash sort of or make it or just pump our bag sort of project. This is something that we're really passionate about. And so I think that NFTs, the communities around them, have the ability to have the artists and their fan base connect and relate and participate with each other's success on a level that just never existed before. So like, if you love that your local town band day one, you were the first fan in the crowd, or they played at your parents' garage, right? Their first live show, or maybe you were the very first one to buy their merch t-shirt. Those are all amazing badges of honor. However, by being the number one fan day one, you don't necessarily get to participate in their success, or you don't have the same sort of stake as you could now that we're in the world of NFTs. And I think that what we're doing here with Project LB52 truly is unique, or at least that's certainly our intention. And, if you decide to become one of Dan's day one supporters, he can track and know that forever now. There's something really cool about that, right? Like, I just can't help but think, there's certain rappers that I followed really early on in their career, as soon as they launched their YouTube channel, right, or whatever. And it was fun knowing that I'm an early subscriber to them, or I hit the like button on every one of their videos. But it would have been so much cooler if I could have actually tried to participate in their success and then have a reason to try and drive their success. And that's really what we're trying to do here with Project LB52. Really encourage you guys, go read it out or read the entire website. We spend a lot of time. There's a lot of details on here. We're fully doxed, so it's almost the exact opposite of every other NFT project. Now, because of that and because of the uniqueness, right? You essentially get to work with Dan to create a custom audio song, rap, hip hop, something probably along those veins. You also get to pick the beat that song goes to. You get to pick like essentially the theme or the main points of the song. Dan creates that custom song for you. And you now essentially have the commercial rights where you could take that song, upload it on Spotify or iTunes and start selling it. Or you could turn around and sell it to someone else and make a bunch of money. But what's also cool is you're literally participating and aiding Dan not only in his career, but in him launching his career. And that to me, again, this is one of the really cool parts about NFTs. It's awesome to make a bunch of silly internet money. I don't have any hate for anyone that does that as long as they're not legitimately running a Ponzi scheme. But there's something that when the dust settles, when the pump and dumps are done with, people are going to remember the communities they were a part of. They're going to remember the friendships that they built, right? Both online and eventually a lot of these online friendships spill over into the IRL or real world. I think that there's something really unique that Dan's doing here. And this isn't his first NFT project. This is his NFT project, right? Like, I think that we've got a vision and roadmap here to build something that no one else has ever even tried. And so, again, I really encourage you guys, read the white paper, dig into the details. We spent a lot of time and energy and a decent little bit on legal fees and all that good stuff to make sure that we lined up the dominoes right on this project. And if you guys are in position to participate and you're interested, I encourage you to do so. Feel free to send me a DM if you've got any specific questions, but really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And I hope you guys had a lot of fun. And before we go, let's fill up the pipe one more time of one more smoke. If you got a couple questions you just got to get in here before we wrap up tonight, feel free to jump in that comment section. Otherwise, just glad that you guys came and hung out with me. It's been a while. Well, I guess I can actually, let's stop the screen share and we'll do it again. And I'll make sure I share the sound and we can listen to some of Dan's beats. If I did that right, you guys should hopefully be hearing it along with me. I like it, Z Tribute. Appreciate the idea for a catchphrase. Escape from hell, join the Citadel. There's a nice little rhyme to it, so I like the alliteration there. Daniel had a question. What are your thoughts on Airbnb property management? 20% is a hefty prop management fee. Oh, you guys can't hear? Well, that's as loud as it's going to go. So if it doesn't go any louder, I encourage you guys, jump over, check out the website, listen to all the cool beats. And again, you could literally get a custom rap song made to this song. If someone ends up actually participating in this project because of this live stream, send me a DM, whether you participate today or, down the road here, and we'll figure out something fun that we can do together. Maybe if you guys didn't know, I plan on releasing some rap songs, some music in 2022 that's my own creation. Probably going to come off more like slam poetry, but maybe we can do something fun together as well. But back to Daniel's question, what are your thoughts on Airbnb property management? 20% is a hefty prop management fee. Yeah, to me, it all comes down to the devil's in the details, right? So make sure you run your numbers. Be careful to not just blindly trust what your Airbnb property management company's telling you your property is going to do. Make sure you actually do your own due diligence. It's been a while since I really focused. This is really loud in my ear. It's been a while since I really focused on Airbnbs. Back in the day, AirDNA was the best website and resource to really get a feel for what's going on in your local market. I'd check it out or whatever the current competitor is in regards to that. Pay the couple bucks in order to really see the data and get a firm understanding before you just blindly jump into it. but certainly short-term rentals do have potential. Now, again, we do live in the lockdown era, so understand, the propensity of your local market, municipalities, cities, rules and regulations. Are they the first to lock down? Are they kind of cool about it? Are you a tourist area? When is your tourist season? Because I think winter, more often than not, is going to be lockdown season for the foreseeable future. I've been talking about this for a while now, like at least a year or two. I've been saying that I think winter is going to be lockdown season. Well, it wouldn't be more than 2 years, but yeah, just some food for thought there. But certainly you can still make money with Airbnb, but I would just caution you to not blindly jump into it. And particularly if you're looking at a property management firm, it's in their best interest to get you to open up an Airbnb and hire them. So not all of them have the greatest scruples. Some of them will just tell you what you want to hear in order to get the contract. At the end of the day, no one should care or will care more about your money than you. So you absolutely need to make sure you're doing your own due diligence up to whatever comfort level you want, right? And again, that goes for just about everything in life, not just Airbnbs. But appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This has been a lot of fun. Maybe we'll do it again next week. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys do want to see this going on next week. And definitely starting the new year, I'm going to be launching some new, at least one new show that should be every weekday. Really looking forward to doing that. But I was hoping to do it before the end of the year, but my internet just got here. And we're coming right into the holiday season. But again, appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. It feels good to be back.